Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial on Arduino. What this tutorial is going to go over is reading from the serial data, reading from the serial monitor. And what that is, there's a monitor in Arduino which allows you to send commands from Windows or whatever PC or platform you're on over to the Arduino. We have to use this right here. What this does when you finally write your Arduino code, this will pause the program and wait for the input. Okay, we're also going to learn about parseInt and what that does. We're going to learn why not using a line ender in the serial monitor is crucial to get this thing to work correctly. We're going to learn about digital read. We're going to learn about digital write, and we're going to learn about pin mode. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and set up my Arduino. I'm going to go ahead and put my variables up here. So int LED pin equals, on my Arduino, I set up my LED pins in 9 and 11, so I'm just going to use 9 for now. And then int button pin equals, in my Arduino, I set up the button pin for 7. You guys could, do whatever you want there. It doesn't really matter. Yours might be different than mine, okay? I'm also going to do int, I'm going to call it int blinks. And what this will do, just for now, we'll make it equal to 0. And this will keep track of the user input from the serial monitor. Okay? Let's go ahead and do our pin mode setups. So I'm going to say pin mode. I want my pin mode LED pin to be an output. I want my pin mode for the button pin to be an input. You could put input underscore pull up, but I have a pull up resistor, so I already did that. And we have to do serial.begin 9600. That's the speed. If you use different speeds, it might screw it up. So we just stick with 9600. So this basically opens up serial monitor and gets it ready for use. Okay? Now we're going to go ahead and do our loop. This part's a little tricky. So the first thing we want to do here, again, going back to here, what we want to do is we're going to use some of this while business, okay? We're going to go ahead and do that in a minute. First, I don't want to do that. First thing we want to do is this. We want to say, I guess we could do this. If, int button state equals digital read, and we want to read our button pin. What this will do is gets the value of the button. Since we're using a pull-up resistor, we have to remember that 1 equals off and 0 equals on or pressed. Okay? It's important to remember that. Pull-up resistor always pulls it up to 5. So now we're going to say if button state is double equal. That's how we do logical equals. This is an assignment statement. Okay, that's a logical equals. So if it's equal to 0, meaning we press the button, we're going to put a bunch of code in here. Okay, what we're going to do is this. We're going to say clicks or blinks equals serial.parseInt. And what this does is reads, we're going to assume it's going to be an integer variable that the user is going to be putting in, and it reads from the serial port an integer. Okay. Now what we have to do is pause the program. Actually, let's pause the program and wait for input. So we could actually put this here for a minute, and we're going to do this. We're going to say while serial dot available equals 0. So again, what we're doing is this stuff here. So that means while we're waiting for the input, while nothing is there, we just do this. We don't do anything. This just pauses the program. Now after we pause the program and we get out of this loop here, okay, this means we've gotten out of the loop. And we don't want to close the if here. I'm going to close the if actually down here. Okay, now we're going to pop out of this loop. Okay, so now we're down here. And we're going to assign what the user put into here. So there's nothing we're doing. This is just going to wait until the user puts in the data. And then when they put in the data, we're going to store it in blinks. Okay? And if we look, so this matches up with this. This matches up with this. This one matches up with that one. And then we have the one here. Doesn't match up with anything. So we're going to get rid of it. I'm not a huge fan of this IDE, actually, at all. That's okay. Okay, now that we're still in the if here, we're going to say if blinks is equal to 1. We'll say 2. Let's do 2 because it'll be a little bit better example. Okay. If blinks is equal to 2, we do this. We're going to say digital write LED pin, comma, high. So we're going to blink. Digital read, let's delay. Delay by like, I don't know, 150. Then digital write, LED pin, low. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. So this will create 2 blinks. So high, blink, low. So that's on, delay, off. On, delay, off. Very good. So that's that. You know, you can do it for other values too. And let's see. Did we cover everything here? Yep. Oh, the no line ender. That's really important. Open up this right here. And you're going to see this thing right here that says no line ending. Yours probably says new line. And what this will do is this will put a character in when you don't want one. It'll screw up the parsing. So we're going to put no line ending, and that will go ahead and help us here. Okay? So let's go ahead and upload this program. Just save it, doesn't really matter. Okay, we're compiling the sketch. It takes a minute on my computer. All right, and then what I do is I do this. And I run it, and then I hit the button, and I'm going to put like 2. And I hit the button, and I put 2, and 1, you know, that idea. All right. Now there's one thing we want to do here that we didn't do in our code is this. Before we do this, we're going to do this. Serial.println, enter in a value to indicate the number of blinks. So this will help us prompt the user so the user knows what to do. So then we pause, we set the blinks. If blink is 2, LED pin high, delay, LED pin low. We should put a delay in here as well. So we get a little bit more of a blink. LED pin high, delay, LED pin low. Very good. So let's go ahead and send it over again. Now you can't see the other half of what's going on because I don't have a camera for the Arduino. That's okay. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button. So please enter in value blinks. I'm going to put 2. Okay, hit the button again. Please enter value blinks. Put 2. Okay, so it works. It'll work for 2, obviously, right? But if you want a different value, you're going to have to figure that out, and that's going to be the exercise. So I hope you understand what this does. I hope you sort of sort of get what's going on. I'll kind of quickly go over it one more time. I got some more time in the video. So again, up here, we set up our pins. Here we go ahead and set up our pin modes. In the loop, we read our button state. So what we do is we read the button. Is the user pressing it? Is it not pressing it? By doing a digital read on the button pin, it'll either read 0 or 1. If it reads 1, that means the user is not pressing it. And if it reads 0, that means the user is pressing it. So 1 is off, not pressing it. 0 is pressing it. So if button state equals 0, meaning if the user has pressed the button, we're going to go ahead and pause the program. So we're going to prompt the user. And then what this will do right here, this here, you can put in a little comment if you want. Pause the program and wait for the user to enter a value. The program literally will just keep going around and around and around here until it's a 1. So when you put in a data, it becomes 1. That means there's data in the serial port. So when you put in 1, boom, gets out of the loop. It reads it into blinks. It stores it into blinks. It parses it into an integer. So this turns the data from a character to an integer. You guys notice that number 1 right here is 1, right? That's in decimal, 1, 1. Okay, good. Now it gets really weird. Check out the bottom here. You'll notice that 1 is also 49. So how can 1 be 1 up here, right? It's 1 up here, and it's 49 down here. Well, what happens is the computer stores 1 in 2 different ways. It could store a character 1, and it could also store the number, the integer 1. So this is actually the character 1. If you don't do parse int here, if you don't do parse int and just do read, if you just do like serial.read, it actually returns 49. So you'd have to subtract 48 from it, which gets really weird. So we don't want to deal with characters. We want to deal with ints. And that's precisely why we use the function parse int. Okay, and that's why we do that. If we don't do that, it doesn't work right. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. And we're going to go ahead and do some questions now. So again, what happens is, if we look up here, we said this before, that the digit 1 is 49. But the digit 1 can also be 1. Now you might say, well, why does that happen? What happens is the computer could store it as an integer, which is up there, that's an integer, or it could store it as a character, which is the one down here. So by doing this, and by doing the parse int, it'll store it as an integer. If we accidentally did this, it would store it as a character, and we'd have to subtract 48 from it, which would be really weird. Now, why would we subtract 48 from it? Because you'll notice that 1 starts at 49. So 49 minus 1 will give us 48, which is the actual number 1. So we don't want to deal with all that weird, that weird math, because that gets really confusing. So we just do serial.parse int, and what happens is it'll turn whatever's in there, if it can, into an integer if it's a character. So again, I hope you found this tutorial helpful and useful, and understanding all of this stuff now, why we use this while loop, what serial.parseInt does, why we have to do this. If we don't do this, the program won't work. It won't stay in that loop. Okay? So that ends this tutorial.